And staying warm in this cold, cold northeastern weather. Northeastern United States, that is, not PA. This is Deb Wilkinson, and once again, I thank you for joining us for our weekly PPACA webinar to keep you hopefully as informed as possible on the goings-on of the continuing FFM saga. We're going to have to all put our heads together and come up with a theme song for, similar to a soap opera for the FFM saga. So send me your suggestions if you would. As usual, we're going to go through a couple of agenda items, but if you do have questions, I ask you to raise your hand using the icon to the right of your screen, or certainly type in your question and we'll get to those at the end. This is, of course, we didn't have a PPACA webinar last Thursday. I was out of town, but we do have a lot to catch up on. So without further ado, I'm going to start the agenda. And as the first bullet point says, that the FFM saga continues, and boy, do I wish I could say that it has ended, but as these things go, it seems that it's just becoming more and more complicated. A couple of updates for you. A couple weeks back, we sent out a workaround for the problems that everyone was having with healthcare.gov and making enrollment online. And, of course, the President also spoke and talked about the over-the-phone applications. NAHU, the National Association of Health Underwriters, also was working directly with Health and Human Services and received information that the health insurance marketplace workers would indeed take the information from the client on the agent information, your FFM ID, your name, and your national producer number. And that seemed to be going along very well for a few weeks, a couple of weeks at least. And on Tuesday, within a matter of 2 hours, I received 2 emails from 2 of my agent partners indicating that their clients called in to the health insurance marketplace and were told that, 1, they couldn't take the agent information, or 2, they couldn't take the information because the agent was not on the phone with the insured. None of this is true. I immediately got on the horn and sent an email to Jessica Waltman at the National Association of Health Underwriters, and she's working directly with HHS to resolve this. And also Allison Beam, who spoke at our leaders conference and works in the Pennsylvania Insurance Department, I notified her of the issues, and they actually are having a conference call with CCIIO to go over some of the issues. But I just wanted to let you know that over-the-phone applications are still a valid way to get your clients to the health insurance marketplace and in the exchange for 1/1 effective dates. I can tell you that agents will get credit for the sales in the marketplace, but another issue has come up in the 834 reporting, and the 834 reporting is a data feed that the health insurance marketplace submits to the consumer's chosen carrier, relating all of the information to the chosen carrier, such as the insured's name, their plan choice, the effective date, and the agent information. Well, it also appears now that the agent information is somehow getting skewed or not being reported on that 834 data feed. So again, I'm working directly with the carriers to see if there's a workaround, and also working with NAHU and the Pennsylvania Insurance Department to see if, again, there's a back-end fix to this. I can tell you that I think that it would be beneficial to everyone that is either doing a 3-way conference call for the individual marketplace over-the-phone application, or telling their clients to call in, to make sure that they have a few items. They have, obviously, you as the agent have the name of the insured, and that's a no-brainer. The name of the health insurance marketplace worker that they talked with and took the over-the-phone application, the date the call was made, and the application ID. So I think with those 4 pieces of information that it's a no-brainer that everybody's going to get credit for the sales that they have made. And, you know, again, once I get more information directly from the carriers on any workaround, I will let you know. But at this point, from this point on, any calls that are made for the over-the-phone application to the health insurance marketplace should at least be mindful of those 4 items and get that information. That information is going to be included in my newsletter. So just if you didn't write it down, you'll get that information. Another issue, some of the questions that I've received is, what if somebody expects their income to change in 2014, and what happens? You know, for instance, you know, a couple different scenarios. If somebody is a family of 1 but is currently pregnant and then becomes a family of 2 in 2014 and thereby qualifies for a subsidy at that point, how do they collect that? And the only way to do this is, you know, pull out your crystal ball, if you will, or if you know that if your clients know that they possibly could have an income change in 2014, then it's pretty important for you to have them make application within the exchange, even if they don't qualify for an advanced tax credit, aka premium subsidy, because that's the only way that there would be a reconciliation when they file their taxes to get that credit that they would be eligible for. So that's also important. You know, again, the second item is the newsletter. We put these newsletters out, the HCR newsletter, HCR Essentials, every week. They either go out Thursday or Friday, depending on the information coming in. But it's pretty important that if you're not getting them, you get on the mailing list, and you can do that. Just shoot me an email and say, add me to the list, Deb. And my email, of course, is debw@urlinsgroup.com. But if you are getting them, you don't have to read line by line, but we try to make it pretty easy to understand by topics and bolding the topics that are important. Just at least peruse them, because as things evolve quickly and as time is running out for a 1/1 effective date, I'm going to try to keep you as informed as I can, but it's important that you at least be mindful of the letter going out and possibly look at the information that I'm sending you if at all possible. Moving on to the next agenda item, of course, quotes is still a big question that I get, and our site has been updated so that it is easier to understand. Some carriers have released paper rates, others have not. But our website now, under health plan options and under product information, each carrier has a page, a specific to the carrier page, and what you're going to see is 2014 on exchange, 2014 off exchange, and then the separate issue of 2013 and all of the forms and rates that you need for 2013. So again, that's a source for you, again, a resource for you to use for obtaining individual health quotes. Of course, your individual health case managers, Jessica Kyer or Judy Reed, can certainly help you with that as well if you have any questions. Our eBix quoting portal is being updated. I know that it's slower than we had anticipated. I'm working with them daily to see, you know, what the ETA is on updating for 1/1. I ask you to be patient. There's, you know, it's like creating a whole new quoting system, all new plans, all new rates, all new criteria for quoting. So again, we're getting that updated as quickly as possible, and certainly we hope to have that up and running effectively as soon as we possibly can. Just of note, on December 10th, I am at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, I'm having a webinar with our quoting portal vendor for individual health, Ebix, and Tony Bell is going to be walking through the new look of the quoting portal, and hopefully by then we'll also have information on our web broker contract and be able to at least look at rates on and off on the exchange or off the exchange. So again, watch in the newsletter for an invitation on that, and many of you have already signed up for that, so I expect it to be a pretty good webinar and pretty informative for you. Judy and Jesse have asked me to put this next bullet point in, and I think certainly it's very, very important. We all know what the 2014 rates look like, and many people are trying to take advantage for the 2013 effective dates so that somebody can get in under the gun of medical underwriting. And I think, again, that it's very important to mention some of the cutoff dates that we're getting. For Capital Blue Cross, 2013 cutoff dates for a 12/1 effective date, we're asking that the applications are submitted to URL by November 25th, and we have them by the 25th. 12/6 is the cutoff for a 12/15 effective date. Again, all of this information is going to be in the newsletter, but I'm just letting you know now. Highmark, since they only have first of the month effective dates for 12/1 effective date, we're asking the application be received by 11/22. Northeastern Blue Cross, cutoff for 12/1 is 11/25. Aetna for a 12/1 effective date, 11/25, and then for a 12/15 effective date, December 6th. So you can see that time is running out. Being the 14th of November, you have essentially a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 to get some of these applications in to secure those medically underwritten lower rates for your clients. Again, that information is going to be in our newsletter. We're going to head into the submitted questions that I've received. Just of note, many people for 2014 are writing Highmark Blue Shield for Central and Western. They seem to have very, very attractive rates. And for off-exchange applications, they are requesting payment. And there are a couple ways to do that. You can send in the application without payment, but the insured is going to have to make sure to send payment in to Highmark so that it is posted prior to 1/1 to affect a 1/1 effective date. There is a payment slip on the applications, so you can do a couple things. If you're sending us the paper application for Highmark, you can send along a check. We'll take that payment slip when we process the app and send that directly to Highmark. Or when you're taking an application for your client, if they don't want to pay at that time, just send us the app, keep that payment slip, and your insured can then send in that payment directly to Highmark. And if they have payment at the time and you want to send it in directly to Highmark, you're certainly able to do that. 3 different ways to get payment there. I would suggest if you're sending an app, send it to us. The check, and we'll get it in, and that way we'll also have record of it, but it's certainly your personal preference. I also wanted to clarify one thing on a question that I received 2 webinars ago, and that was relative to the subsidies and the metal levels in which they could claim their subsidy. And I had a question as to whether the subsidy was available, the advanced premium tax credit, which is the premium subsidy, if that's available for the catastrophic program, and it is not. It is only available for bronze, gold, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, so anything bronze and above. And for the cost-sharing subsidy, those that have a are below 250% of the federal poverty level, the only plans available for them to have the cost-sharing subsidy would be on silver and above. So that is clarification on a question that we received. Another question, I had quite a few submitted questions, so hopefully these will be helpful to you for me to read them out loud and answer them. I received a question from Tim, and he asks if employers with 50 or more employees pay 100% for dependents under, can an employer with 50 or more employees pay 100% for dependents under age 21 but have dependents age 21 to 26 and not full-time students pay full premium? My feeling on that, Tim, is no, because that's discriminatory. But I will double check on that and circle back around with not only you, Tim, but also everyone in next week's webinar. But my feeling is no, that they cannot do that. And as time goes on, too, there's going to be tighter rules about non-discrimination, and I think this kind of screams of discriminatory activity. So, again, I will follow up with everyone. Maggie has submitted a question. Is the only way to enroll in a plan and receive subsidy by enrolling through the healthcare.gov site? Yes, that's absolutely true. The only way you can claim any subsidy is making application either over the phone or directly online through healthcare.gov. And is the government considering issuing the tax subsidies as a rebate at the end of the year, sort of like on your tax return? That is one of the choices. When you apply through healthcare.gov or over the phone directly to a health insurance marketplace worker, you have three choices if you are subsidy eligible. You can take the full amount of that subsidy, and that is paid directly to your chosen carrier in monthly increments. Your billing is reduced by the amount of subsidy that the carrier is receiving. You can not take the full amount of the subsidy that you receive, and again, that lesser amount would be divided among the months that you have coverage and pay directly to the carrier. Or you can say, I'm not taking the subsidy even though I'm eligible, and at the time you file your taxes, then it is going to appear as a tax credit. Another question is, does medical underwriting still exist for groups 50 plus? And the answer to that is yes. It's not necessarily medical underwriting, but it's very similar to what they do now, and it's really experience rated the same way that it is now. So hopefully that answers that question. David asked a question saying that he sat with a client when they called the marketplace and they were told they could not submit an application over the phone. How can we get a piece of business through? Well, again, Dave, this is untrue, but I can tell you the last 2 days, the health insurance marketplace has not even been able to take over-the-phone applications. So this is something that may have occurred during those 2 days or was part of the problem with the health insurance marketplace saying that they can't take agent information, but they expect to have the 800 number open for over the phone enrollment. Well, they were expecting it yesterday evening, so I'm not sure if it's up and running today, but keep trying because that's the only way we can get these things through. A question from Jessica. She is saying, healthcare.gov website, do you suggest we begin enrolling people? Is the website up and running smoothly? And we keep pushing the subsidy-eligible customers back, but we're almost at the deadline. And I would agree that, yes, you have to get these clients in because the way these plans or these applications work so slowly through the system, we're really coming down to the deadline for, obtaining a 1/1 effective date. So although I don't necessarily recommend going and doing an online enrollment to healthcare.gov just because it's an act of frustration, I would at least do the over-the-phone applications, of course, when they're up and running. And listen, folks, I think that there's going to have to be some sort of delay or an extension of the enrollment period, but at this point we have to assume that the law is what it is and there's no delays, and we have to ultimately secure these people for 1/1 as if there's no other choice and no delay. So yes, to Jessica, I would suggest that you begin enrolling people. A question from Rod. He asks if there will be a delay in the individual mandate, and if that happens, what do you foresee the agent's role to be? Well, I would say that if there is a delay in the mandate, that the role doesn't necessarily change. There are people out there that still need coverage. There are 5 million people losing coverage from their guaranteed issue programs, not counting the people coming off of their employer plans from the employer's dissolving group coverage. So there is a need for these people, whether on exchange or off exchange, to get guaranteed issue, no pre-existing coverage. So your role would be the same, and quite frankly, I don't believe that the individual mandate being $95 this year or 1% of your modified adjusted gross income is a big deterrent anyway. For not having coverage. So I would say act as you do now. Reach out to those people that need coverage and contact you for coverage and get them enrolled. The next question is, with the rate differences being so great between Highmark and Capital, do you see Capital changing their rate structure before the first of the year to be more competitive? And no, I don't see that. The carriers had to file their rates and their plan designs May of 2013 for 1/1 of 14 effective dates, and I don't believe they have the opportunity to go back and refile those rates. So I don't see that happening. A question from Gertrude. Once someone has completed the application for subsidy or tax credit by either phone or completed the paper application and mail it to the healthcare marketplace, how do they enroll into a health care plan? Does anyone know? Neither the phone enrollment or paper application provide a section for an insurance company plan selection. And that's very true. The only thing that you're doing when your clients go to healthcare.gov and make application online or do an over-the-phone application is get themselves in the system to have their subsidy determination made, and then at that point, when their subsidy determination is released, they also get their plan choices. Now, if they're making over-the-phone application, the plan choices and the subsidy determination is either emailed to the insured or sent to the insured through the United States Postal Service. If they're making application online, then that information is within their account that they created. If it is online, then there is a place when they receive their plan choices to make their selection online for their specific plan and carrier. And then, again, that information is relayed through that 834 data feed to that carrier. If it's done over the phone, it's still a little sketchy, but what I've been told is that they call back into the health insurance marketplace and make their selection or tell the health insurance marketplace worker what their selection is, their plan selection. So that's the workaround. Tim asks the question, if only the one person in the family enrolls but uses the family form for income purposes for the subsidy, are the deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses the individual ones or the family? On that note, too, do they have to enroll the children if the children are covered by another person? Well, first of all, there's a single app and there's a family app. The application itself is based on who is enrolling. So it's a person, even if they have a household size of 5, uses the single app if only one person is applying. When they give their modified adjusted gross income to the health insurance marketplace worker, they give their household income. So the subsidy is based on household size, household income, and then it is reduced by the making application. The plan choice that that single person makes is based on either single or family. So a single person making application is only going to have to meet the single family or single deductible, not a family deductible. And if children are covered elsewhere, then they don't need to make application within the exchange with their parents if they're covered elsewhere. One last submitted question. Margie asks, she said she's interested to know how commissions will be paid to agents from Capital and Highmark next year. Capital Blue Cross is paying 6% level commission, 6% of the entire premium for the life of the policy. Highmark is paying a per member per app for Central PA based on whether it's a Highmark program or a Highmark broader network Highmark Health Insurance Company program. I know that's confusing, but if it's a Highmark Community Blue, Highmark Blue Shield Community Blue type program, we are paying $8 per member per month for the first 3 years, and it caps at 5 applicants per application. So a family of 2 would be 16, and they're $8 up to 5 people per app. If it's a Highmark Health Insurance Company, then it's $12 per member per month for the first 3 years, and then it reduces after the 3rd year. And at the end of 2014 or December for Highmark, if members stay with their current carrier and take an ACA plan, will commissions continue to be paid to the agent, and must the agent send in the applications themselves to receive commission? Yes. With Highmark Blue Shield, if you have a current medically underwritten applicant, they can stay on their plan until 12/31 of 2014. On 1/1 of 15, they're going to have a PPACA plan. And if that PPACA plan for that person is written directly with Highmark or Capital or any other carrier, you would not receive credit for that. If, however, you are proactive and you contact your client in time to make application for a 1/1/15 and you are the agent on that case, then you will receive commissions on that based on the figures that I just gave. So hope that answers those questions. Those are all the submitted questions that I have, and I have some follow-up, obviously, that I need to do with some people. But it does look, too, that we have some questions typed in and no hands raised. So I'm going to go to the submitted questions. John asks, how do you receive an ID number? And John, I can only assume that you're asking about the FFM ID number, and that is the user ID that you created when you registered on the marketplace.medicare Learning Network when you did your modules. If you've not done your modules to be certified to sell within the FFM, then you'll have to do that in order to get that FFM ID. Greg says that most vendors that participate at exchange required additional information from agent, fax, certification, etc. Once it was sent, is there any way to check with the vendor that they have it and the agent is entitled to sell? Greg, I don't know the answer to that other than contacting them directly, either through the emails that were given, for you to send your certificates to, or you can call them directly and talk to the licensing department. That's really the only way you can know. And Tracy asks, what is the multi-state plans and how are they different from the regular plans? The multi-state plans are more they're Highmark specific, and they're not brokered. They're sold directly, and it's more through the National Blue Cross Blue Shield Administration. I don't know, quite frankly, in what circumstances they would be used, because I just haven't paid attention to that. It's kind of low on my list of things to research, but I can look into that and get some more clarification on next week's program. Next week's webinar program. Rosalie asks, she says, except Geisinger. Yeah, Geisinger at this point, as well as Blue Cross of Northeastern PA, has not released their compensation for 2014 yet. We keep waiting for it. Colleen asks, can the tax credit be claimed at the end of 2014 when completing a tax return? Her CPA told her that clients can do this to avoid the website. Well, no. My understanding, Colleen, is that the only way to claim that subsidy is to make application through the exchange. If application is not made through the exchange, then there's no way to grab that credit at the end of the year without first going through that, the health insurance marketplace. And she also clarifies, Colleen also says off marketplace. And no, you can, again, the only way to claim that tax subsidy, that advanced tax credit, is through the marketplace, not off marketplace. If you make application off marketplace, you have waived your rights to obtain that tax credit. Kim asks, can you explain how the mid-year tax credit would work if you are pregnant? Kim, you know what? I don't have a lot of information on that. I would say that if they make application, it seems logical to me that if they make application within the exchange and they become, and they're not subsidy eligible for 6 months of 2014, but then have a baby and become tax subsidy eligible, then that would have to be prorated for the amount of time that they would actually be subsidy eligible. But I can check on that as well and verify, just so that I can get back to you on next week's call. These are a lot of the details that I'm sure we'll all learn as time goes on. And Margie asks, what is the E&O exposure for the broker? Has that been addressed for the exchange applications? And when you're making application through the healthcare exchange, your E&O would cover you the same way it does now. I think, some of the questions and some of our conversation before, Margie, is what happens if an insured gives wrong financial information, and what's your liability? And ultimately, the client is the one signing off on the information, and fraudulent behavior is fraudulent behavior, and my feeling is that you would be covered the same way you are now when one of your clients gives fraudulent information. Pam asks, people can contribute or continue to purchase in the private marketplace as well, correct? Correct, she asks, and that's absolutely true. Anyone outside the marketplace can continue or can make application for a 1/1 effective date and beyond. It is guaranteed issue. There's still metal level plans, but the only way they need to apply through the exchange is to, if they have a tax subsidy, or if they're subsidy eligible, or if they feel they might be subsidy eligible sometime in 2014. Besides that, there's no reason to go there. They can make application outside the exchange, and that process is pretty much the same as it is now. You take an app, you send it to us, we process it. DJ asks, can a group of 20 go on ACA individual plans and be billed as one group? They cannot. There's no list billing per se at this point. There's ways to affect that, but not through the carriers. Melissa asks, can you write child-only policies for 2014? You can, and I had a list of those carriers that are doing child-only. I believe all of the blues are doing child-only. In fact, I think all of the carriers have to do child-only, but I will put that in as a follow-up and try to include that in my newsletter. And Tracy asks, do you have commissions for Neba? And the answer to that is no, we do not. We do not have that yet. We did receive information that Blue Cross of Northeastern PA signed a letter of intent to form a closer relationship with Highmark Blue Shield. So obviously more information will be coming on that, but for 2014 they're going to continue to work as separate companies, just work more closely together. That being said, the NEPA commissions will still be the NEPA commissions, and they've not released those yet. But let me tell you, I ask every Monday, both to Geisinger and to Blue Cross of Northeastern PA, and I get that they're getting close to releasing, but still no release. Rosalie asks if the Highmark commissions are the same rate in the exchange as out, and yes, there's no differentiator between inside and out for the commission payments. And she says that Geisinger does not allow the subsidy on their premium, platinum, or gold plans. That's news to me, Rosalie, because that's not a Geisinger choice. That's a a federal decision. So I'm going to check and see what you're seeing that would make you think that they're not. Marianne asks about Geisinger individual commissions. Not sure yet what they're paying and if they're paying. And Greg says Geisinger in 2014, he thought that they will not pay any commissions to the agents. Is that correct? And again, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Rosalie says that she spoke to them on Tuesday, and I assume that means Geisinger and allowing subsidy on platinum and gold. So again, Rosalie, I'll follow up on that. At this point, that's not my understanding. And it looks like those are all the questions that have been typed in. It does look like there's some hand raised. Let me see if I can get to that. I'm going to, well, let me see. Oops, it just disappeared. Okay, it looks like I don't have, let me see if Margie, oops, nope, they disappear. For some reason, these are disappearing, folks, so I'm sorry. I would just ask if you did have your hand raised that you type in the question, because it looks like the hand raising functionality is not working. All right, I'll try this again. And Margie is not on the phone. Margie, do you hear me? Okay. And all right, well, it is 10 o'clock on Thursday, and it looks like those are all the questions that we have. Just of note, our next webinar is next Thursday, the 21st at 9:30. Just so you know, the following Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, we are moving the PPACA webinar to that Wednesday, which is November 27th. It would be Wednesday, November 27th at 9:30. So again, next Thursday is the next webinar. That invitation will be sent in the newsletter. And then the following Thursday, we're moving to Wednesday, since we hopefully will all be relaxing and enjoying Thanksgiving as opposed to thinking about the federally facilitated marketplace. Thanks again for everyone for your time. I really appreciate it. Please contact me with any questions, and again, we're all in this together, and we'll figure it out as we go. Thanks very much, and have a great day.